we mentioned last night that on Rosh Hashanah there's a very difficult balance to reach. There's balance between being mispalo for our own needs and being mispalo for the covet of Malchus Shemayim. At the same time, there's another difficult balance to strike of seemingly opposing ideas, and that's the idea that it's a day certainly of din, and it's a day that we're supposed to be be'ema and bepachad, but at the same time, it's also a happy day. It's a day that we declare the Malchus of Shemayim, Hayom Haras Olam. It's a day that the world was created. So the Shulchan Aruch tells us that Ochlin v'shosin usmeichin. On Rosh Hashanah, it's a time to eat and drink and be happy. Ve'ein misanin Rosh Hashanah. We're not allowed to fast on Rosh Hashanah. V'lo b'Shabbos Shuva, and likewise not on Shabbos Shuva. Amnam, at the same time, however, lo yochlu kol sivam l'man lo yikalu rosham v'tia yiras Hashem al pneihem. So again, this balancing act between eating and drinking, being happy, it certainly is a Yom Tif. Mr. Brewer tells us we have the mitzvah v'samachta b'chagecha, mitzvah deraisa of Simchas Yom Tif, but at the same time, the Shulchan Aruch tempers this and says, but not too much, because at the same time we're supposed to be b'yira. The Mishnah Berurah points out, though, that this Isser of fasting, the Halach says, Shulchan Aruch says, ve'ein misanin Rosh Hashanah. The halacha of fasting, normally, if a person fasts past Chatzos, it's considered that they fasted that day. And on Yom Tif, usually it's usher to fast past Chatzos. But the Mishnah Berurah points out that when it comes to Rosh Hashanah, that in fact is not the case, because most people end up in Shul well past Chatzos. And in fact, the Ramah says, U'ma'arichin b'piyutim utfilos ad Chatzos, that we can be marich, we can continue davening at least until Chatzos. And therefore, most people will end up not eating before Chatzos, and that's okay. The Mishnah Berurah points out that it's mutter to fast until Chatzos on Rosh Hashanah. However, this year when Rosh Hashanah coincides with Shabbos, most poskim say that this halacha is not the same. When Rosh Hashanah and Shabbos coincide as they do this year, a person is not allowed to fast until Chatzos, because on Shabbos someone's not allowed to fast. Even though on Rosh Hashanah one would be allowed to fast at that point, Shabbos this year will trump the halacha of Rosh Hashanah, and therefore a person is not allowed to fast past Chatzos. So if you are in a shul where they have a kiddush, actually there's no kiddush this year because there's no tekiyas. So there is no tekiyas shofar on Shabbos. So what a person has to try to make sure to do, and the first says this, and others as well, a person should try to make sure in the morning before going to shul, so they're not allowed to eat certainly before davening, but a person should make sure at least to have a glass of water or have a cup of coffee, to have something before they go to shul, even if they're not normally knowing to do that. If they don't normally drink anything before going to shul, on Rosh Hashanah they should do so when Rosh Hashanah falls out on Shabbos, and that way, even if they stay in shul past Chatzos, already they will not have fasted on that day. Okay, new halacha. When it comes to the tekiyos, once the Baal Tokeya makes the bracha, this is going to be on Sunday, the second day of Yom Tif, once the Baal Tokeya makes the bracha, so we all know we're yotze with his bracha, and the tekiyos shofar that comes afterwards is tied into that bracha. And therefore, it's clear from the poskim one's not allowed to be mafsik, you're not allowed to make a hefsik by speaking, you're not allowed to interrupt between the bracha all the way until the end of the tekiyos. I just want to discuss a couple of the halachos that pertain to this. First off, the poskim say that if b'di'evet, if a person spoke after the very first set, after the first tekiah, shvarim, chua tekiah, right after that, if a person accidentally spoke at that point, they should not go ahead and make another bracha. If they spoke between the original bracha and the tekiyos, then they had no bracha at all. But if they spoke even after the very first tekiah, shvarim, chua tekiah, at that point, the poskim say, b'di'evet, a person, certainly it's usher to speak them, but if a person does, they should not go back and make the brachos over again. If a person has to use the facilities during the time of Musaf, so when a person is finished, they do say Asher Yatzar. That's not considered to be a hefsek. To say Asher Yatzar, the bracha, after going to the bathroom, is allowed to be said, even though they're in this time of between the bracha, and it's not going to be a hefsek. Shlomo Zalman brings down, in the Sefer Alichos Shalom, they bring down from Shlomo Zalman Zatzal, that a person's allowed to sing along with the Shliach Tzibur, not to sing the words, but a person's allowed to hum along, la la la, even though many posts can point out that in general, like let's say after washing the Tilas Yadayim and making a motzi, a person should preferably not hum and sing. Rosh Hashanah says it is mutter to sing along, not the words, not to sing the words along, but to hum along, to kind of lie the niggin along together with the Shliach Tzibur. Likewise, as Shlomo Zalman said, and it brings down that he was knowing himself, also to say Baruch Hu V'ruch Shemo is mutter during this time, even though many times also when somebody's going to be Yotzei with the bracha, they should not say Baruch Hu V'ruch Shemo, and on the bracha of the Baal Tokeya, we do not say Baruch Hu V'ruch Shemo in the original bracha that he makes, but throughout Shemona Esrei, during the brachos of Chazar Sashat, so Shlomo Zalman said that a person may say Baruch Hu V'ruch Shemo, and in fact, he was nohig to say it himself. Certainly all the piyutim, all the tfilos that are part of the Chazar Sashat liturgy that we go through through the Seder, certainly those a person is allowed to say. However, the poskim do bring down, almost all the poskim say that the Yehi Ratzon, that you find, it's still printed in almost all the Sidurim, although many Sidurim will write a disclaimer and that say many people do not say them. And in fact, most poskim say the Yehi Ratzon before the Tekiyos a person should not say, because that is a hefsek between the Brachos and the Tekiyos. So in the first set of Tekiyos, not during Chazar Sashatz, but in the first set of Tekiyos, the Tekiyos, the first set, a person should not say the Yiratzon before hearing Tekiyos Shofar.